Hello. I'm gonna ask everybody if they could mute. That would be super helpful so that we don't have any of that sort of feedback. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining tonight. My name is Stephanie Driscoll, and I am the Assistant Director and Dean of Admission for Andover Summer. I am really thrilled to be joined this evening by my friend Olivia here. And I'm going to let Olivia introduce herself to everybody.
Hi, I'm Olivia. I live in Cleveland, Ohio. I'm a current junior, and I attended Andover Summer this past summer. And also my older sister and my dad attended Andover Summer.
Olivia, can you tell us what courses you took this summer and what they were about a little bit?
I took Great Controversies, which was about like issues around the world and how they're different from United States issues. And I also took Web Design, which taught the basics of designing a website and how to make it useful in your everyday life.
Terrific. Thank you so much for sharing. So I'm going to be leaning on Olivia tonight to share some of her experiences from the student perspective. And then I am here, of course, to give you an overview of the Andover Summer programs, which includes our summer session 5-week on campus, our concurrent 5-week virtual program that we offer, and then a shorter 2-week day-only program that we offer for 2 weeks in August. And that program is the only program that does not require an application. And I'm happy to elaborate on that program if we have folks on this call that are interested. I did get some of your questions in advance, and so I will definitely make sure to address those before we finish our call this evening. And if there's anything that you think of additionally as we move through this presentation, please feel free to utilize the chat function. I can't check the chat while I'm sharing my screen, but I will make sure to look at it at the conclusion and try to answer all of the questions that you all have. You received the email directly from me with the information about today's webinar. And so now you all have a straight contact on campus to me. And so if you have questions after this webinar this evening, feel free to just send me an email with those questions. Can everybody see my screen here that says Andover Summer at Phillips Academy? Olivia, are you seeing that? Okay, terrific. So I just want to start out by playing a really short video that was put together by one of our lower school students. And I'm going to explain in just a minute what lower and upper and all of the different terminology means on our campus. But I just thought this was a really fun introduction as we sort of talk about the experience of being a part of our 5-week program. So one of our students from France put this together for me and just randomly sent it. She wanted to share her experience, and we've shared it on our social media site. So I'm going to quickly play this for you.
There is a house built out of stone, wooden floors, walls, and window sills, tables and chairs warmed by all of the
Noah, come over here, please. Noah, come here.
This is a place where I don't feel alone. This is a place where I feel at home. There is a house built.
Happy Andover Summer.
Wooden floors.
So I just love that. That was just sort of a quick encapsulation of her experience here with us. And let me stop this so it doesn't play again. So just a little bit about Andover Summer is about. The program was founded in 1942 and is going into a summer of 2023 will be our 81st summer in operation. And as Olivia mentioned, her father was a part of this program at one point in our past. And then she had an older sibling attend just the summer before she did. So we're thrilled that this is a generational experience. And of course, each year we look forward to building an intentionally diverse community of students on our campus for this 5-week experience. And so the program I'm going to focus on first is our on-campus program. And quickly, I'm just going to take a little quote from Jonathan here, who spent the summer with us, just saying that for him growing, oops, let me go back to that. I'm learned about forensic science and how it connects the world, socially learning to interact with students from all different parts of the world with different ideas, traditions, and knowledge, learn to manage my time, balance study and socializing with keeping healthy habits. And I really do feel like that is sort of the crux of what the Andover summer experience is about, is getting out, having that academic and personal independence, learning how to manage a little bit on their own for 5 weeks, working hard and making friends in the process. And so I certainly hope that if all of you decide to apply and ultimately attend, that will be the experience that you have with us next summer. So as I mentioned, I'm going to quickly roll into talking about, oh, and let me see, I have some people in the waiting room. So give me 1 second here. I'm so sorry. Okay, actually, we look okay. Okay. So our on-campus program is comprised, I still am getting this, 1 sec. There we go. My apologies, I'm just trying to let people in that are joining. Okay. Okay. So the Andover summer session program, the 5-week on-campus program, is comprised of 3 different what we call institutes. And I really should be adding a 4th, which is our 9th grade academy, which I am going to touch upon this evening. So our upper school, which serves rising 9th through 12th graders, that's the program that Olivia was part of. That is a day and boarding program. And so students, whether they're local, international, can choose to come as day or boarding students. If international students choose to come as a day student, they just must be have a local residence, and a parent or guardian must be here for the duration of the 5-week period. And so we work all those details out with families. Students that are part of our upper school take 2 academic classes, and they have the option to choose from over 55 course offerings. And so that includes courses in the humanities, science, math. We also have ELA courses, English language courses. And so lots of different course offerings to choose from. Those of you that haven't quite yet discovered our website, we do have course catalogs for each of our 3 institutes, the upper school, the lower school, and the ELL program. Those are all available with the courses that we intend to offer for the summer of 2023. Our lower school institute, again, offered as both a day and boarding program. This is for rising 7th and 8th graders. And this is comprised of 10 different course offerings. This is a little bit different because students at our lower school, while they take 2 classes, they choose 1 course. And so, for example, we have something called Charting the Natural World, which is a combination of math and marine biology. And so the difference between the upper and lower is that Olivia took 2 very distinct classes that met with different students and different teachers, whereas the lower school students, they'll have different teachers in those classes, but the classes are interdisciplinary. And so students are taking this one sort of overriding theme, which is charting the natural world. And then they have the option to do the math and the marine biology. We also have 9 other different course offerings for lower school students. CSI Andover, which is a chemistry course, is a really popular one. Dig This, which is archaeology and writing. And so lots of really great offerings for our lower school students. And then we also have our English Language Learners Institute, which is intended for international students usually, but sometimes we have domestic students as well who are looking to gain additional proficiency with their English language skills. This cohort of students takes classes together, but lives in the dorms with our upper school students. And so they're a part of hearing and being a part of students who are speaking English regularly, but their classes are smaller and focused on sort of really perfecting those skills in the English language. And then I do just want to briefly touch upon our 9th grade academy. That is actually part of our upper school program, but is a specialized program for students making the transition from 8th to 9th grade. So the middle school to high school years. And the 2 classes that are offered as part of the 9th grade academy are our high school prep English and high school prep math courses. And then students in the 9th grade academy cohort actually live in a dorm together. We have the male and the female dorm, of course, but the students do live together. So it's a smaller dorm. and they share the classes together. And then they also take a section of what is called our Essential Study Skills course, which is an optional additional course that I will touch upon in a few minutes. Any questions about course offerings? If you do, feel free to raise your hand or just unmute and ask a question. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and move on. So
I do have one question in
Sure.
regards to what you just mentioned.
Yeah, sure.
So if my daughter is already in the 9th grade, would she be considered to be part of the offering you just described, or is there another offering?
Yeah, so students that are rising 9th graders are considered for the 9th grade academy if they indicate that. Otherwise, students that are, your daughter, it sounds like, would be a rising 10th grader. And so the 9th grade academy would not be an option for them. However, there are math and English language courses that can be taken by students at any grade level. So this is just a particular program really for students making that transition from middle to high school, but there are certainly math and English courses available for all different grades.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So obviously the bulk of our time in the summer is spent on academic classes, but we do also offer a variety of activities and fun trips for our students. I'm going to actually ask Olivia to kind of jump in here and talk about how she spent some of her time both on campus during her free time and also on the weekends, because she really is the one that experienced what it is that we do. So Olivia, if you want to jump in here and talk a little bit about your experiences.
After classes, my friends and I, we would either go downtown for like a snack sometimes, and all like 3 days a week, we'd have an afternoon activity that we would all go to. And I chose tennis, which was really fun and it was engaging. And it was another way for me to meet different people and like do something fun. And off campus, I went to the beach, I went to Boston, and those were really fun experiences because I got to see a new town and a new area that I didn't live in and that I could learn about a different place. Also on campus, one of our favorite things to do was go to the library. It was really beautiful and it was quiet and it was nice for us all to hang out, but also get homework done and be able to engage in something different than we would normally be able to do.
Yeah,
and in my dorm, we were able to like bond and we made s'mores and we had bonfires and we like played games and that was really fun.
Thanks so much for sharing that. So as Olivia mentioned, every weekend on Saturdays and Sundays, we offer a variety of off-campus trips. Students can choose, we repeat the trips so that if you can't attend it one weekend, you have the opportunity to go. So one weekend you might go to Boston, one weekend you might go to our local amusement park, one weekend you might go to the mall or to the beach. So there's always something different for students to do. And then as Olivia mentioned, we also have mandatory afternoon activities 3 days a week. So students take part in afternoon activities on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. And during that time, they have the choice. We have a variety of different offerings, and those, again, are listed in our course catalog. They range from tennis to swimming to softball to volleyball to soccer to squash. So there's a lot of different things to choose from. For students that really aren't super interested in athletics, they can do walking or they can do a little bit of fitness in the gym. We'll be opening our brand new Pan Athletics Center this summer, and so we're going to have a beautiful new pool to utilize. So that's really going to be exciting for us and for our students and a great place to cool off this summer. All students do have some free time built in. I will say that our upper school students probably have a little bit more free time than our lower school students do, just because our lower school students are younger. We don't want to kind of leave them on their own too much. And so the schedule is a little bit tighter for the lower school students. In addition to the things I've just mentioned, as Olivia said, we have dorm activities. There's a lot of bonding that happens, and I will talk a little bit more about housing and how that works. And then one of the great programs that we offer in addition to all of these things is our college counseling and secondary school workshop program. So for upper school students who are thinking about applying to schools in the US, we have workshops daily where we bring in college admissions professionals that talk about various aspects of the college application process. It can be covering topics such as the essay, the supplement, what to do when you visit campuses, how to show interest, the interview. And so by the end of summer, students really leave with a lot of valuable information when thinking about the college process. We also have a large scale college fair on campus each summer that's devoted to the students that come and attend our program. This past summer, we had about 80 schools visit us in person. And And it's just a great opportunity. And then every Wednesday, we go on college trips. These are optional. Students are not mandated that they go, but it's a wonderful opportunity to check out some of the fabulous schools that we have here in the New England area. For our lower school students, we offer a weekly secondary school workshop that's led by our phenomenal Schumann admissions office. And they come in and talk about the independent school application process. And I think, again, like it's a really helpful resource that we have available to students that attend our program, as many of our lower school students are contemplating going on and attending independent schools for high school. And we also have a secondary school fair. So the week after the college fair, we have a secondary school fair. This summer, we had about 60 different schools visit us from all over the country. So it was a really great opportunity for our lower school students to engage in that kind of environment. Lastly, I'm going to just mention too that we also have some optional additional courses that we offer. So all students are required to take 2 classes, but then outside of that, some of our students will opt to take a Princeton Review test prep course. So whether you're preparing the SSAT for an independent school, or you're looking to prepare for college with the SAT or ACT, those classes are offered right on our campus as part of the day. And you can register for those as part of our enrollment process. And then lastly, we offer something called Essential Study Skills. That is a course that is included with the 9th grade academy, but a lot of our younger upper school students, so those that are kind of just getting into 9th and 10th grade, will opt to take this class because it really helps with organization, time management, and kind of covers the topics that are really relevant for students that are just getting a start in high school. And so that's another optional course that students have. And then lastly, I'll just touch upon that we do offer music lessons. So for students that play piano or guitar or other things and want to come and play during the summertime, they can continue to do that. We offer lessons once a week with a private instructor through the course of the summer. So some really great opportunities for students to do that while they're here. I will make one comment about our afternoon activities. This is a question I have, and I do think it was asked on the forums ahead of this call, is that our afternoon activities are not competitive. So when you come to the Andover summer program, it is not with the intention that you're training for school sports or that you're training for something beyond that. This is really a place for students to go out and play recreationally. It's a time for them to have fun. If Olivia was coming to Andover this summer and had never picked up a tennis racket, this would have been a good time for her to come and do that. And so that is the purpose behind our afternoon activities. We encourage students to continue with something that they love or try something entirely new. Some students this summer took kickboxing, or they took spinning, or they just engaged in something they had never done before. So Olivia, did you feel like that a little bit with tennis, that there were new and experienced players? Yeah. We do have 2 levels of tennis. So we do have a beginner level and then an intermediate advanced, but we want to encourage everybody to try things out for the first time. Any questions about academic classes or sort of the general kind of scope of things that happen on a day-to-day basis? I'll go ahead and move on. This can be really overwhelming, but this is actually a weekly lower school student schedule. So you can see they're busy. They're having breakfast in the morning. They have their morning class block from 8:45 to 10:15. Their second class block from 10:30 to 12. They have lunch from 1 to 2. Our students have free time at the lower school. And then from 2:30 to 3:30, those students who are enrolled in an SSAT prep class meet for that class at that time. Students in the lower school who do not have an SSAT prep class, that would be a chance for them to hang out on campus, walk into the town of Andover, or just relax in their dorm room and have some time. On Mondays, we have an all-school meeting where we gather together and usually talk about an interesting topic. And then on Mondays, we also have clubs that students can join for the duration of the summer. Students eat dinner from 5 to 6:45. And then our lower school students have an evening class block. They have a final dorm sign-in at 9, and they prepare for bed between 9 and 10:15. Things are a little bit different for our upper school. I'm going to ask Olivia to talk about what her evenings looked like on campus. She mentioned the library, and Olivia, if you could just explain that we do have mandatory study hours in the evening. So if you could just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we had like study hours. We had to be in the dorm, meeting with a teacher or in the library, and you had to sign out to a specific place at like 8 or 7 or something. And then we had to be back in our dorms after that, but we could go and study with our friends, or we could study with the teacher if we needed help on an assignment, and we could ask for help. And there's also designated places we could go if we needed help with like a specific subject like English, science, and the teachers would be walking around to help out.
Exactly. So students do have mandatory study hours most evenings of the week. A lot of students choose to go to the library, and I will say that can be both like a great study area and also social at the same time. But there is a quiet area of the library where students are not allowed to socialize. So if they're trying to really get work done, that's a great place to be. And then we also offer 3 study centers during the week. We have a science study center, a math study center, and a writing center. And so students that are working on a paper have the ability to go and get a little extra help, or if they're struggling in a science class, they can go meet with a teacher at that time. And so those are available most nights of the week. So the upper school schedule and lower school schedule are quite similar. I would say the biggest difference is that things are adjusted by about an hour. So our upper school students are able to stay up a little bit later and have a later bedtime. That's really the major difference there. As you can see on the weekends, we do have classes on Saturday. And then in the afternoons, we have those student activities. So for our lower school students, those are mandatory. Students have to engage in the off-campus trips on Saturdays. Upper school students, it's their choice whether or not they'd like to stay on campus or if they'd like to take part in one of the off-campus activities that we sponsor. And then Olivia, can you talk a little bit about what happens on Saturday nights?
On Saturday nights, there is usually like an activity for the upper school students. And I think most Saturdays there is a dance, but there's also like an ice cream social dance part. And then there's stuff on the field that you could play games and hang out with friends.
Yeah, we usually have a few different offerings. So if students aren't interested in going to a dance, we usually have an open field where they can go out onto our big stadium and they can go out and play soccer or just kind of hang out with friends. Sometimes there's little dance parties that happen out on the field that are sort of organically grown. So it's really fun. The kids have a great time on the weekends on campus. I think just some things that students and families say about their experience with us at summer session is that they certainly are learning those important time management skills. It's a little bit like being exposed to college for those 5 weeks where you're taking classes and you have free time, and it's sort of learning how to manage that time that you have with the work that you have as well. Certainly there's academic independence for many children. This is the first time that they might be away from home, or that they might be away from home and have academic responsibilities. And so it's teaching them really how to manage that without having the reminder from a parent or guardian kind of on their back all the time. Certainly personal independence. They're going to be taking care of themselves and getting themselves dressed and pulling laundry together. And so for some, this is a whole new idea for them. And then of course, I think one of the most important things, and one of the things I love to see, is the friendships that the kids have during the summer. And Olivia was just talking to me about some of the friends that she made and how they're FaceTiming and staying in touch. And those are really the things that make this program so special, is how quickly the kids bond, and then how quickly they really form these wonderful friendships together. And Sophia has been kind of with us for quite some time. She's now a first-year student at the Academy during the regular session, but she attended e-summer in 2021, came and was with us this summer for summer of 2022. And I loved what she said, which is that getting to know other students was definitely her favorite part. But I think what she said about finding people who are curious about the same topics, like people who come to summer session are sincerely interested in learning. And I think she really enjoyed the experience of having other students that were curious about learning the same way that she was. And I think that that is certainly what you'll find with students that come to summer session. I'm going to touch briefly upon e-summer. Probably won't spend as much time on this because I'm assuming the majority of you are probably looking at our on-campus program, but I will touch upon this. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to just stop me and let me know. So e-summer is our 5-week virtual program. It runs concurrently with the on-campus program, but is a completely separate program. So the teachers that teach for e-summer are different from our on-campus teachers. I think the biggest thing that sets the Andover summer virtual program apart from other virtual programs is really this personalized learning plan that we offer, which is that students identify a set of course learning goals with their instructor. And then based on those, they take an initial assessment, and then they're looking to kind of really strengthen and grow certain areas. So say within algebra, they have certain areas like slopes or lines that they really want to work on more to really master that area of algebra. The teacher will work with that student throughout the summer on mastering those goals. And so students are really getting a very personalized experience. The assignments and activities are given to them are individual, so they're not the same that would be going to all of the students in the class. And then students work at their own pace, submitting evidence of mastery as they feel ready to do so. These are the components of our e-summer. We've got the one-to-one learning conference that happens each week, twice weekly synchronous group course meetings, and then every instructor holds synchronous office hours and small group workshops, and then the independent learning activities that are personalized towards the identified student goals for the summer. I did want to briefly touch on housing for on-campus. So there is a variety of different types of housing at summer session. We are all dorms, but some dorms can range from 8 or 9 students all the way up to 40. And so the housing is very different depending upon where you are on campus. And we don't unfortunately take requests for housing, but we really do try our best to do a good job of pairing students with students that we think they'll get along with and that they'll have a good experience with. We do use a cisgender system of housing for the most part. We have boys and girls dorms, and our lower school students are not housed in the same dorms as our upper school students. And then even among upper school, we try to house our 9th and 10th graders, and then we will house our 11th and 12th graders separately. And I'm sure actually, Olivia, I'm gonna ask you to speak about your housing situation. We did offer an all gender dorm this past summer, and I anticipate that we'll do that again this year. So students who identify as transgender or fluid, gender fluid, or just are allied with the community and really want to be part of that community, that is an option for students. They have to apply into it. There's a process that they do once they indicate that they're interested in the all gender housing. We ask them to fill out a short questionnaire, and then they're a part of that community. Olivia, do you want to speak a little bit about your dorm and how many students were there and whether or not you lived in a double or how that worked this summer?
I lived in a dorm called Nathan Hale, and so there's about 45 girls in my dorm, but most of us, for the most part, had singles. It was either singles, and then on the end of the hallway, there's like 2 triples. And I lived in a single, but I was really able to connect with all the people on my floor because we had a lot of group meetings and we would talk a lot in our dorm hallway.
Yeah, and we do try to honor as best as we can. If a student says like they prefer to be in a single room, we do try to honor that when possible. Olivia, had you requested a single for this summer?
I think I requested a double, but it ended up working out well for me.
Okay, great. I will say, just to let families know, we do not have air conditioning in the dorm. So Olivia will tell you it can get quite warm, and we do provide fans to all of our students, but we also encourage families to, pack appropriately for a hot summer. It can get hot and humid in New England in the summertime. There are lots of places on campus where students can cool off. The library is air conditioned, our dining hall, the pool, of course, which will be open this summer for students, is air conditioned. So there are places to go to get comfortable, but the dorms, unfortunately, are not air conditioned on campus. I'm going to move forward here. So quickly, just going to touch upon our 2-week program, which is our newest program, which is Advantage. This is an open enrollment. So this is the only program that Andover Summer offers that is not an application program. This is a 2-week program. This year will run from July 31st to August 11th. It's open enrollment. Courses are divided into middle school, 9th grade, and high school. The course offerings, there's not as many as we offer during summer session. This is a much smaller program, and the courses are really offered with a focus on return to school. So critical reading, critical writing, and math. Those are the 3 areas that we offer, whereas during summer session, there's a much larger assortment of classes. We don't do grading for this program, so the students are provided with a narrative evaluation at the end of the term, whereas during summer session, we either provide an actual grade or they're given a mastery-based grade. We have 2 different ways that we grade during the summertime, and I'm happy to answer questions about that if people have them. So which one is right for you? This is sort of a side-by-side breakdown of the 2 different programs, the on-campus and e-summer. Obviously, we have a lot more offerings with the on-campus program, but still have a good variety of classes offered for their lower school students. The enrollment, about over 600. I think we had about 620 students this past summer on our on-campus program, whereas about 300 for e-summer. Global representation, pretty similar across both of them. I think the big difference is that the on-campus is a more traditional pedagogical design, whereas the e-summer, as we talked about, is that personalized mastery-based approach to learning. And of course, you can't rave about the food when you're in part of our e-summer program because you won't be here on campus, but the food is quite good. The dining hall is beautiful. It's a very historic building on campus, and students really enjoy spending time in there. And there's always lots of food options. And even students that have restricted diets, we have a dietitian, nutritionist that's available to meet with students to help work out that stuff with them in the summertime. There are some big price differences between on campus and East Summer as well. It's depending upon whether you attend as a lower school, upper school, or ELL student. You guys can all see the price breakdowns there. Just to explain a little bit, the price differences between the lower and upper really primarily due to the student to faculty ratio. We have fewer students per faculty member because our students are younger and require a bit more supervision. The classes are a little bit smaller for our lower school students, and they also have a little bit more programming during the week to keep them busy. Upper school still has lots of activities and programs, but because the students are a little bit older, we don't need to have as much structure as we do for the lower school. And then our ELL program, a little bit pricier because of the fact that those classes are intentionally small to really serve the students so that they can work on those English language skills. We talked about the student activities, some of those additional courses that we offer. And of course, I would be remiss if we did not discuss the wonderful facilities that we have available to us here at Andover. Our newest building, as I mentioned, is the Pan Athletic Center. We are awaiting that to open any day now. It's absolutely beautiful and is housing our new pool. But we also have the Oliver Wendell Holmes Library that Olivia spent a lot of time at this summer. Our Sykes Wellness Center, I should mention, is a 24/7 medical facility on campus. It is operated all the time. Students that are having any sort of medical issue or are in need of counseling, there are services available to them 24 hours a day, which is a really special thing to have in the summertime. We also have our Addison Gallery of American Art, which a lot of our classes try to integrate a visit into the American Art Gallery at some point in the summer. The Peabody Institute of Archaeology, and then both our Borden Memorial Gym and our Snyder Athletic Center are available to our students. And students are able to use those facilities during free time. So if they want to go in and do some lifting weights, or they want to go hang out and do some laps around the track at the Snyder Athletic Center, they're allowed to do that. I'm going to quickly touch upon sort of what things looked like with COVID this past summer and what we sort of are thinking as far as next summer. This past summer, we did do a bit of COVID mitigation. Students were required to be tested when they arrived on campus. And then we did a very short, what we called modified quarantine, where students needed to mask for the first 5 days when they were in indoor spaces on campus. And we were what we call a closed campus. So we did not allow visitors from the outside community onto campus, and the students were not allowed to go off campus into the town of Andover. We very quickly moved out of that. And then for the remainder of the summer, we were an open campus. Students were able to get off campus. They were able to go into the town of Andover. There was no more masking. And at this point now, our medical center has had 3 years of practice with handling COVID cases, and we're very confident in their abilities. And we did have some COVID this past summer. It was very manageable. Students spent a few days at Sykes in the Wellness Center, and then they were able to return to classes into the dorm as soon as they were past the 5-day isolation period. And things are looking probably even different, hopefully. If we continue on this trend, I anticipate that things will look pretty normal for the coming summer, but we always have to anticipate that there could be some COVID mitigation measures. I will let you know that we do require all students to be up to date with their booster. And for this year, that will mean that students will have to have the bivalent booster option that is now available here in the US. If students are coming from countries where that is not available, we are happy to provide those vaccines for them when they arrive at registration. Olivia, do you want to touch upon like your experience with COVID and how that impacted you or didn't impact you this summer?
It actually wasn't too bad because like honestly the first week it was kind of nice to be on campus, so we had more of a experience to like talk to people and meet people, and I thought that was good.
Yeah, I really felt like this summer felt pretty normal. And just in terms of thinking about how things look right now, things are running very normally. We just had family weekend. It was open to all families to come. There was no testing that happened. So I'm hoping that pending that we don't have some sort of crazy new variant that comes out of the woodwork, that things will look really normal for this summer. And so we're really excited about that prospect. I'm going to quickly talk about the application process. I'm sure people have questions about that. This is relevant to our 5-week summer session and our 5-week e-summer program. We offer rolling admission, and so the application will open on November 1st, And we will start reviewing applications right at the beginning of December 1st. And we typically have decisions to students within 2 weeks of receiving a completed application. So if you submit an application and then all of your recommendation letters and your transcript and all of the different pieces are in, that's when the application is considered complete. And at that time, you can expect a decision usually within 7 to 10 business days. We don't even necessarily even take 2 weeks. So 7 to 10 business days. And then from that time, if you're admitted to the program, you have 2 weeks to make up your mind. At that point, unfortunately, you do lose your spot and we go on to the next individual, unless you let us know that you have an extenuating circumstance that requires you to have some more time. I will say that because we operate on a rolling basis, the classes and activities do begin to fill. And so it is advantageous to start your applications earlier and commit to the program. I know that puts a little pressure on, but last year the program was completely full by the end of March and we had a lot of disappointed folks. So if this is something that you know you're interested in, I do encourage you to get the application started when it opens next month. It is a competitive application process. This is obviously a living and learning community. Students have to want to come and work this when they're here and do the work and be part of a learning community. So we are seeking students with strong academic records, good self-advocacy skills. And I think one of the most important pieces is a commitment to being positive members of our community. And when we talk about being a positive member of an intentionally diverse community. So keeping in mind that students will be coming from a variety of different backgrounds, whether that's different racial, different ethnic, different religious, different socioeconomic. We bring all of that together in the summer between our 620 or so students. And so it's important they're committed to being a part of that community. The application components include 3 really short essays. These are not college level, so please don't allow your son or daughter to be concerned about what we expect with those essays. And then you have 2 letters of recommendation, one from a school counselor or an advisor, and the other comes from a core content teacher. So either math, English, social studies, science, or a world language, and then a transcript. It does not have to be an official transcript. It can be a report card, or it can be a report card for the last couple of years. The more information you can provide us in the application, the better. And as I mentioned again, decisions are issued within 2 weeks of the completed application. I do see a hand up, so go ahead and it looks like it's T. So T, go ahead and ask your question.
Hello. My question is basically that what exactly are you looking for in those letters of recommendation?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that when we get the letters of recommendation, we're obviously looking to see that you have been a contributing member of your community and that you're a hardworking student and you take your education seriously. Usually most of the letters we get, most of the recommendation letters are glowing. I feel like we have a very self-selecting group of students that apply to our program in the summer. Usually if you're thinking about spending your summer doing this kind of thing, then you're typically a pretty strong student who wants to be there. And so I find that for the most part, the majority of the recommendation letters that come in highlight that about the student.
Okay, so there aren't any formal requirements because when I inquired with one of my teachers about this letter of recommendation, she just needed like information so that she could write it. And
so what will happen is when you start the application, there's actually a place where you can fill in who is going to be do your recommendation letter, and they are emailed a form that they fill out. So she does not need to do a freehand letter of recommendation. This is actually a recommendation form that will be filled out by your teacher or counselor. So she does not need to prepare anything on her own.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. I hope that helps answer that question.
Yes, it did. Thank you very much.
And look who we have a quote from in our webinar. Olivia, would you like to read your quote?
Yeah. To the prospective family, it's going to be an amazing experience. Just be prepared to have an open mindset and be ready to meet new people and settle into a new experience and routine. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
That's one of my favorite quotes, and that's why it's in our webinar here. And so I'm going to open it up for questions. I see there's quite a few things in the chat. So I'm going to start with that. And then I'm also going to address the questions that I had that you had written into the form. And then if anybody has anything else at this point, I think it's okay for us to unmute and just unmute if you have a question and ask your question, then just mute yourself again. So I have a question. I applied for the program this year, but my parents were told financial aid was only available to students who don't attend private schools. I'm going to quickly touch upon financial aid. So financial aid is kind of a tough subject for us at Andover Summer. We don't have the resources available to us that the regular session does. As many of you know, Andover is well known for its for its need-based blindness during the admissions process. And for us in the summer, that is not the case. We do not work with the same budget that our regular session does. And so unfortunately, we don't have the resources available to fund everyone that needs aid during the summer. So that is tough. That's one of the harder parts of my job here. What I will say is that the reason behind us not offering financial aid for students who attend independent schools is that we really want this to be an opportunity for students who would not otherwise have the opportunity to attend a school like Andover. And so we reserve our financial aid dollars that we do have for students who currently do not attend independent schools. And that is the reasoning behind that. I will explain that the majority of our financial aid dollars are allocated to program partners that we have. And so we have a number of organizations and schools that we work with throughout the country that recruit and send us students from underrepresented and low income backgrounds. And so the majority of our financial aid dollars do go to support those students. Whatever remaining money we have after that time, we do allocate privately, meaning that students who apply individually for financial aid, we will consider applications. So a couple things there. If you're interested in applying for financial aid, you need to fill out the schools and services document that you can access. You'll see a link to it on our application. That needs to be filled out in addition to the Andover Summer application. And you must apply for financial aid by February 15th. So if you're interested in looking for financial aid this summer, your application and your financial aid application have to be completed by February 15th of this year. What is the acceptance rate for the program? To be honest with you, we really don't keep that data because it's not something that we report. What I can tell you, as I mentioned, it's a pretty self-selecting program. And so I would say that certainly this is not as competitive a program as getting into regular session. I think regular session had almost like a 5% admit rate this year, and that is not how Andover Summer operates, but we certainly do bring a strong academic cohort of students to campus, and we're committed to doing that. But we don't keep track of our admit rate, nor do we publish it. Could you please describe policies for phones, electronic, social media? There aren't really a lot of rules as far as having access to phones. So it's much different than overnight camp where they sort of take those things away. Students have their phones. They're allowed to have access to it. If there's different sites that you don't want your child to be able to access during the summer, then I suggest you put those settings on their phone before they come. We do have rules about them needing to put phones away at a certain time of the evening, especially for our lower school students, that they're not up all night on their phones. We do manage that behavior. And to be honest with you, typically it's not a problem. If it does become a problem, then we will certainly sit down and meet with the student and talk about ways to manage that. Or if you as a parent feel that it's becoming an issue, we're happy to work through that with your son or daughter. Olivia, do you want to touch upon that a little bit?
Yeah, we didn't really have any problems with phones. It was mostly just a way to connect with each other easier.
Yeah, for us really in the summertime, it has not been much of a problem. And again, if there are certain things that you do not want your child to be able to have access to during the summer, I would just ask that you kind of put those limits on there, and you can have a chat with the house counselor as well about things that they should or should not be doing on their phones. We do turn off our internet at midnight so that students are not up on electronic devices all night. However, having said that, a lot of students have data plans that allow them to still browse the internet. But at least, you know, they're not still up on computers and things like that. General behavior and dress code, we have this full document called the Blue Book, which is released to families when students are admitted. There are a lot of rules during the summer. Specifically, I'll say there's no smoking and no drinking, of course, on campus. Sometimes for international students that come from countries where smoking is a little bit more acceptable for teens, that can be a little bit of a struggle for our students when they arrive on campus. But our health center works with those students to make sure that it's comfortable for them during their time with us. And so if you're interested in looking and seeing a copy of our Blue Book, I'd be happy to send you that via email, but there will be an admitted students page where you'll see all of the expectations. We do not have a dress code in the summer. It is very casual, and actually we really encourage people to be casual because it can be quite warm on campus. There is no interview required. As a matter of fact, we don't offer interviews. And so you would not need to have an interview. I think I answered the question about financial aid. Will we be able to join any kind of dance activities? We do have dance as an afternoon activity. So if you're interested in doing dance, you can certainly choose that as your afternoon activity. Again, the more popular afternoon activities tend to fill more quickly. And that's why I encourage you to start the application sooner rather than later. And will there be an opportunity for an in-office tour in advance of summer? Are you talking about a tour of Phillips Academy, or when you, that looks like it was Stephanie Asona from Boston.
Yeah, I'm asking if there will be offered an on-campus tour in advance.
Yeah. So what I would recommend is that the summer office does not sponsor tours because we don't have a team of students that work with us in the summertime. But if you're interested in getting a tour of the Andover campus, you can certainly sign up for one through our admissions office. They're back open fully this year for on-campus tours. And so if you're interested in coming and seeing campus on an official tour, you can certainly take advantage of that.
Do those also take place on the weekends, or is that a question I need to present to the admissions office?
That is probably a good question for our admissions office. I don't want to give you the wrong answer. A part of me is thinking that yes, they probably are offering some tours on the weekends, but I just don't want to say that with 100% certainty. So I would encourage you to reach out to admissions.
Thank you.
Is health insurance included with tuition? I guess I'm asking that, is that international, or are we talking domestic? Sonara.
It's international. We're from Brazil.
Yeah, sure. So international students are actually required to purchase a international student insurance policy. It's $295, and it provides full comprehensive coverage for your child while they're here for the summer.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. My nephews attend the program and highly recommend. Question, how many students attend the 2-week program? This summer, we had about 40 students that attended our 2-week program. So as I said, much smaller than our 5-week program. And again, keep in mind, that's not a boarding program. It's a day only. And it's actually just a half day. It goes from 8:30 in the morning until 12 o'clock. And then students have to be off campus by 12:30. So it's a very different type of experience. And then the second question was, can you attend the program summer regular 2-week multiple times? Yes. We often have students that return. So as you saw, Sophia came as an summer student, then came as summer session. And we actually right now are enrolling students that attended this past summer that want to come back. And we keep that up and open until the end of November. And so, yes, we do have students that return for multiple summers. Can you please provide information about campus security? Sure. We have our campus security office, which is, again, operating 24/7. They're on campus and they patrol campus regularly, both during the day and in the evenings. And then they work in conjunction with our Andover Police Department. We also have a blue light system on campus. And so if you are on campus and feel unsafe or that you need assistance, there are blue lights that are located throughout key areas of campus where students can press a button and get immediate assistance. Olivia, do you want to speak about sort of how you felt safety-wise on campus?
It was very safe. Like, I always saw the security cars driving around, and even if you just needed a ride back, if it was dark or late, that would also be, and you were walking alone, they could also do that. Yeah. And one of my friends, she needed a ride to the Sykes because she got hurt, and they were quickly there in minutes.
Yeah, and we actually encourage students, if there's an illness or injury in the middle of the night, we actually don't allow students to walk to the wellness center. We have them use the campus safety to transport them. So we really don't encourage students to walk alone. We would say that no matter where we were located, but the town of Andover is, relatively safe. Can we ever be fully safe anywhere? No, but we do take precautions, and all of our buildings on campus are secured and locked at all times, and you have to have a key card in order to enter them. So I hope that helps to answer your question. The application is not available just yet. It will be opening on November 1st. So you can start your application as soon as November 1st arrives. Looks like I've gotten through the chat. So I'm gonna go ahead and answer some of the questions that I had that were in the forms. When does registration start and how will it be? Is it paid for the summer program or free? Sadly, the Andover summer program is not free. I know there are certainly programs out there that do provide full scholarships. This is unfortunately not one of them. Andover summer, as I mentioned, is an application process. And so the only program that we have registration for is the Andover Advantage program. And that registration opens in January. For our East summer and summer session, the application opens in November. I hope that answers your question about that. We talked about courses and sports that are available. Information on course offerings. As I mentioned, all the course offerings are located on our website. So if you're looking at our on-campus program, you're going to want to look at the summer session course offerings tab on our website. And if you're interested in East Summer, you'll want to look at the East Summer course offerings tab on our website. And then again, now you guys have the knowledge to understand that we have the upper school, the lower school, and the ELL programs. And so you'll want to look at the corresponding catalog for what you're looking for your child. Overview and some tips to prepare for admissions. Just keep in mind, you're not applying to college here. This is a summer program. You know, we know that you want to come when you're taking the time to apply to our summer program. We know that you want to be there. And so, of course, we look at grades, we look at the recommendation letters, and we're looking at who you are as a person and whether or not we think you'll be a good fit for the community that we're building for the summer. But don't think too much about it, because this should be, of all the applications you do in life, this should be a pretty simple one. We talked about the 9th grade academy. Somebody asked how it assesses and addresses students' readiness levels. For any student that takes a math class on our campus during the summer, they all have to take a math assessment prior to the start of the program so that we can determine leveling for them. And then in our English courses, the teachers will do some sort of individual assessing in the first week of class to kind of make sure that students are appropriately placed in the class and what the expectations are for those students. As we mentioned, the application opens November 1st. When you're admitted, should you choose to enroll, there's a 20% deposit due at that time. And then the remaining balance is due May 1st. And then does the 6th grade still apply in November without much on the transcript? What I would say for if you have a current 6th grader is that if they don't have grades yet from 6th grade, I would include the grades that they have from their 5th grade year. So that would be my suggestion there. Is it possible for students who join the summer session to apply to transfer to Andover regular? Well, that would be great, wouldn't it? No, unfortunately, our relationship with regular session is not such that students can transfer from summer into regular. I will tell you, however, that there are a large number of students who come to summer session that do end up going on and becoming regular session students. Is this considered a feeder? No, it's not. But I do think this gives students a good idea of what it's like to be a student at Andover. And it's an extra piece of information that our admissions office has when they evaluate students, is their summer session record. And so I do think certainly that can't hurt. I realize we're sort of getting to the hour mark. I don't want to keep people too long, but I will hang out here for a few more minutes to answer any more questions in the chat, or if anybody has questions for Olivia about her experience this summer, we're happy to stay and hang out. Quiet.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for joining.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hello, Stephanie.
Hi.
For somebody who just completed 7th grade, what years would you need grades for? Thank you.
So they're currently in 8th grade this year.
7th.
They're in 7th right now. So if you have a grade report from last year, that's great. If by the time you apply, you have some grades from the first quarter, you can also send those along too.
Thank you.
Yeah.